Good morning. Good to see everyone here this morning. And we acknowledge those that are here in presence in the building. We acknowledge also those that may be participating online. We appreciate your presence here as well. Over the last few Sundays, we've been talking about confession. We've been talking a little bit about healing, not physical healing, but emotional, mental healing. Talking about our flaws and our problems. And that's one of the things that we talk about is in the ministry when you're preaching. And you go to the scripture, you find a lot of people with a lot of problems in the scripture. You've got individuals that have done some horrible things. You've got individuals that are trying. And we think about David. We think about the different ones that the Lord used and some of the failings and failures that they have. We're going to talk today about Jacob. And if I'm going to give a title to this, I think the title would be, What is Your Name? And we're going to deal with the situation where David, most of us know the situation where he wrestled with the angel. Jacob wrestled with the angel, and the angel asked him, what is his name? That's kind of the essence of what we're talking about here today. But before we get there, there's a whole series of things that we'd like to cover before we get to that particular point. I'd like to start out by going to the 25th chapter of Genesis, and I want to read some there. What I noticed in this, as the Lord was dealing with me about this particular passage, is I noted, and I mentioned it before, that life is a series of relationships. We live in a society, and we have to relate to other people in order for us to be successful in whatever endeavor that we're going to be doing. If we want to be a farmer, we're going to have to buy the seeds from someplace. We're going to have to sell our crop to someone. If we want to be whatever it is that we do, we have to interact with the person and with people. And as we interact with those people, there are issues and frictions and things that happen as a result of that, and we have to know how to deal with that and how we can best accomplish the goals that we have. So the first thing that we have to deal with is we have to deal with the relationship between us and God. If that relationship is in its correct order and the way that it should be, then all the other relationships fall into place. God has the ability to put us in order. If that relationship is out of order, then there are going to be other things in our life that are out of order as well. And then there's a relationship that we have with other people in general, our friends, our families, the neighbors, the different ones, the strangers, people that we don't even know. There is a certain way that we respond and react to them as well. And then there's this relationship that we have within us. We are made up of three parts. We're the body, soul, and the spirit. If that is out of kilter in that relationship, then we're going to have problems with every other relationship that we have. So God wants to put those things in order in these relationships. Now I want to talk to us about, let's go to Genesis, the 25th chapter, and we want to read the 27th verse.
It says,
Yes.
And the boys grew.
This is talking about Jacob and Esau. And for the sake of time, we won't go through the whole thing. We're going to kind of give you highlights. But I'd like for you, when you have time, to read the entire chapters. All of the chapters that we're going to be reading, picking out and reading scriptures. And we want you to read them and you get a full view of what we're dealing with here. So Jacob and Esau are twins. And they were born. Esau is the elder of the two, and Jacob is the younger. And so in the 25th chapter of 27th verse of the 25th chapter of Genesis, it says, and the boys grew,
and Esau
was a cunning hunter,
a man of the field,
Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents.
And Isaac loved Esau
because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Now here's what we have a problem here, right? Because there is parental preference here that is going to impact those children in some kind of a way. Now, I believe that most of us would have to say, we have 2 children. My parents had 11 children. My wife's parents had 13 children. And, if you're going to be a good child, there's going to be something about that child that parent is going to gravitate to, right? If that child does everything that the parent wants them to do, whenever the parent tells them to do, there's going to be something special about that child. But I never, out of 11 children, I never felt like I was inferior to any one of my brothers or sisters. My parents actually had the ability to make us all feel love all at the same time. I didn't feel like they loved me more than they loved my brother or my sister, or they loved my brother or my sister more than me. And so I want to say most of us are past that age, but maybe some person that's listening online, it's very important for us not to have preferences in our children because that's going to impact them in some kind of way. So now what we have here is the father loved Esau, and the mother loved Jacob. So there was preference here, and as we go on, we'll see a little bit of what kind of issues that cause in the family relationship, in the relationship between the brothers, in the relationship between the parents and whatnot. So we're going a little bit, and we drop down to the 29th verse, please.
And Jacob saw a pottage.
And Jacob saw a pottage, and Esau came from the field,
and he was faint.
And Esau said to Jacob,
Feed me,
I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die. And what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despises his birthright. Now, I want to kind of lay the foundation here of what we're dealing with here. We have the boys that have grown up. We have the parents that have, now each one of these things that I'm talking about can be a whole message within itself. How you as a parent, how me as a parent, and how I respond to my children, how that's going to affect my children. That's going to affect something about their character. That's going to affect them in some kind of a way. All right, because they're going to have some of me in them, right? One of the things that I see in my children is some of the same characteristics and some of the ones that I don't like about myself, and the things that I've prayed for and asked the Lord, and the Lord has changed some of those things. But I can see them in my son or in my daughter, or we can see them in it, and that's how we know how to work with them, and that's how we know how difficult it is, because those things are innate, and those things are very, very much entrenched in us. So here he says now, Esau. So we get a little bit of a glimpse of their respective characters. Esau is a little nonchalant about things that should be very important to him. They're not that important to him. I mean, the fact that he has a birthright, he said, look, right now, I'm going to deal with what's in front of me. I'm not going to deal with what's in the future. Right now, I need some food. And if you'll give, and then we see that then he was nonchalant, and he said, no, he could have said, no, Jacob, I am not giving you my birthright, but give me some of that pottage. And he could have insisted on that, but Jacob, we see a little glimpse of his character as well. Jacob's character is a little schemer. You know, I can see what him doing. Give me your birthright, and I'll give you some pottage. And so he's thinking maybe it's just kind of a playful thing, but Jacob is dead serious. All right? So we've got to be very careful. The devil does us like that. Just, give me this, and I'll give you this in return. Well, you know, people are trading in their birthright to heaven for a little bowl of pottage, something they're going to get hungry in 3 or 4 hours, right? And he's going to need something again. He's going to go and find something to fill his stomach with. But we see his character, the character of Esau, and we see a little bit of the character of Jacob. And so here is this friction, you might say, that's beginning to see and is beginning to evolve where we're understanding these individuals' personalities, all right? So Jacob, as we'll find out as we go on in the lesson, we'll find out that Jacob had a natural inclination to be a little deceptive. Just a natural inclination. His mother was like that. His uncle was like that. So we'll see that on down the line. But I want to kind of lay us a foundation here. Now, let's go to the 27th chapter of Genesis. Genesis 27. And let's start reading at the first verse.
And it came to pass,
when
Isaac was old, his eyes
old,
were dim, so that he could not see.
So he was blind. Isaac was blind.
He called Esau his eldest son and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here am I. And he said, Behold
now, I am old. I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison.
And make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob first son. Now, I want you to notice this. The Bible doesn't just have words in there for no effect.
when it goes here in the 5th verse, it says, and Isaac spake to Esau, his son, not their son, but his son. And then it goes up here in the 6th verse, and it says, Rebekah spake unto Jacob, her son. All right? So that's therefore a very keen purpose. So Esau had a right to the birthright. And so he wanted the blessing from his father. And so his father told him to go out and kill him a deer, make the savory meat, bring it back to the house, and then I'm going to bless you after I eat it. Rebekah heard this. And so what Rebekah did, now who do you think taught Esau how to make savory meat that Isaac liked? Rebekah did. So she called, because she has a preference for one son over the other, she goes to the other son, her son, Jacob, and said, okay, we're going to scheme to take the birthright of your brother. My son, my other son. So we have to understand what's going on here with the mother and this preference that she has and how it's affecting the entire family and how it's affecting the household in general, all right? And how it would affect, in my opinion, perhaps the relationship that she had with her own husband. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison, that I can make savory meat, and I may eat and bless thee before the Lord, before my death. Read, please.
Now therefore,
my son, obey my voice, according
to
to that which I commanded.
Go
now to the sheep, the
and
flock,
fetch me
from
thence two good kids
of goat,
and I will make them savory
meat for thy father, such as he loveth.
And thou shalt bring
it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death.
Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother.
Okay, that's good enough. Now I want you to read. I just want to understand that there's a scheme that's going on here to take away the birthright that is rightfully Esau's. But there are a couple of things that I want us to understand here in this character analysis that we talked about. He would not have been able to steal that birthright had Esau not despised it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Had Esau been very keen that this is important to him and had done what he was supposed to do you know that sometimes we do things and we open the door for the devil to take advantage of us? And he would not be able to take advantage of us if we did not open the door in some kind of a way. So because he did not see the importance of his birthright and he traded it in for something that was of far less value, now at this particular time, years later, when it comes time for his father to die and it comes time for him to get the blessing, he can't get the blessing because of what he did sometime before. May the Lord help us to clearly understand that. Be careful what decisions you make. Be careful what you do. Let the Lord give you guidance and clarity and understanding. All right, let's go a little further here. All right. So now I won't read the rest of it because it's too much. They go through this whole scheme where they put on the brothers' clothes and they make the savory meat and they put hair. You can read that for yourself, but for the sake of time, we won't go there because I just want to give us the basics before we get to the meat of what we're talking about here today. And so the father doesn't clearly understand who he's talking to. He says, it sounds like Jacob, but when I feel it and I touch it and I smell it, then it's like, and I taste the meat, it's Esau. So I'm not sure. So he's confused. Older man, blind, does not have a clear understanding. Rebekah knew what was going on, and Jacob knew. And Jacob probably tried to talk like Esau and change his voice and all that. And then ultimately, his father blesses him and gives him a great blessing. And then let's go a little further here. Let's drop down to the 30th verse. 27th chapter.
Came
to pass as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting, and he also had made savory meat, and brought it into his father, and said unto his father, Let my father
arise,
and
eat of his son's venison,
that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, Who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, Who?
Where is he
that has taken venison and brought it to me? And I have eaten of it all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. Okay, so now we have a problem. We have a problem that because of one person's personality, their flaws and their character traits and their determination to be deceitful and underhanded and all of this, along with his mother. So we get these traits, these traits can be passed down from one generation to another, right? And so because of that, now we have a problem. So what Esau does is Esau says, and Esau hated Jacob of the 41st verse, read that please.
Esau hated Jacob because of
the blessing wherewith his father had blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning of my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise, flee thou to Laban my brother in Haran, and tarry with him a few days until thy brother's fury may turn away. Now, so what we decide here is that Esau says, all right, you took my birthright, there's no way to get it. He cried, he was begged his father to give him a blessing, and his father said, I don't have a blessing to give him. He gave him just a little bit of something and to appease him in some kind of way. But Esau was so angry that he said, I am going to kill my brother. Relationships. They came out of the womb at the same time. They grew up together, they played together, they had a great relationship at one time, I'm sure. And now here's the situation because of the circumstances and situation. And I would say, can you blame the parents on this? Can you put some blame on them? You can blame the parents on it, can't you? You because they catered one catered to one, and one parent schemed to take what was rightfully the other son's. And you can blame the parents on this, right? But at some point, you also have to blame yourself. Either Jacob could have said, no, Mama, I'm not doing that. That ain't right. All right? But Jacob had something in him that needed to be purged out of him. And I think in some ways, it may not be this particular thing, but in some ways, all of us have a little bit of Jacob in us. If we're going to be honest with ourselves, all of us have a little bit of something that God wants to purge out of us and that God is working on to get us through and get us past those little things. But yeah, you can blame it on the parents. Now, the mother is saying he's going to kill you, and I don't want to lose my son, so I want you to go to my brother Laban. Until all, time heals a lot of wounds, doesn't it? So we get over it. So he's going to go. And what did Esau do? The mother didn't want him to marry a certain kind of girl, and what kind of girl did he go and marry? The kind his mama didn't want, because he knew how his mother felt about it. People do that kind of stuff. I don't have a good relationship with my parents. I thank the Lord I had a good relationship with my parents. But other people didn't have a good relationship with their parents for whatever reason. And do you know what we have to do? What I have to do, if my children are having some issue with me, I've got to deal with that myself. I've got to go to them and apologize. Maybe some of the ways I raised them. Maybe some of the things that I should have allowed them to do. Even as an adult, I go back and I make restitution. That I whipped you when I shouldn't have whipped you. I'm just using these things as an example that sometimes we've got to go back and we've got to correct things that are wrong, that we did wrong. Now, I can look back over my life and I can say, you know what, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done things a little bit different. I don't think there's anybody here that can say that they've done everything perfectly and they would do everything exactly the same way if they had it all to do again. Well, we can't do it again, right? We can't go back and redo what I messed up, but I can ask the Lord to soothe it over and to make it better, and I can pray and I can do whatever I can. You know what? Somebody does something to you and they hurt you horribly. You know what? An I'm sorry really goes a long way. A genuine, I'm so sorry, I hurt you and I should not have done that, in some kind of a way that soothes the problem and that makes things better. And you know what? Don't be above doing that. If you did something in your child's life, I don't know if you did back then or whatever. There are some things that I wish I'd done a little bit different for my children. There were some times that I think I was maybe a little too strong on them. Particularly being a pastor, everybody's looking at the pastor's children, and everybody wants them to be perfect. But let your children be children. They're not going to be perfect. And let me tell you, those in the audience, those who are in the congregation, if your children aren't perfect, don't expect your pastor children to be perfect either. It's not fair. You know how hard it is to raise a child. And let me tell you, I think my wife did a pretty good job. I have to give it to her. I think she did a pretty good job in raising them because she was right on them and she gave them time and attention. And we allowed them to do extracurricular things and all of those kind of things. And I think that that's what helped balance them. We knew their personalities and they both have very distinct personalities. And what works for one does not work for the other. If you force this on that one, you can force it on this one, but you can't force it on that one. You got to coach them. You got to make them understand, and all. You got to know your children. And when you know, and Rebecca knew her son, didn't she? She knew that Jacob would do whatever she said. Isaac knew Esau as well. But let me tell you, because of their preferences of having a favorite and all this, it brings a problem in the home. Be very careful about that. I'm not just talking to the audience here. I'm talking to the audience there as well. All right? Okay. I'm going to go a little further. So he goes to Laban. Let's go to the 29th chapter again, we're laying the foundation. We're laying the foundation here. 29th chapter and the 16th verse of Genesis. Thank you.
And Laban had two
daughters.
The elder was Leah.
And the elder was Leah. And the name of the younger was Rachel.
Leah was tender-eyed.
Leah was tender-eyed.
Rachel was beautiful.
And Rachel was beautiful and well-favored.
Jacob loved Rachel.
And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days, for the love that he had for her. All right?
Jacob said unto Laban,
give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place, and he made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to him, and he went in. And now you have to take into consideration they didn't have, on these cell phones we got a little light, flashlights, and we have electric lights, and then it was dark out there, right? And Leah, and I'm assuming Leah and Rachel were about the same size. I don't know how much older one was than the other, but you have a wedding. And your expectation is that you're getting the girl that you love, and then it's dark, and they take you take her into your tent, and then you're there during the night, speaking sweet nothings in her ear, and then you wake up in the morning at daybreak and you roll over, and it's not who you thought it was. How are you going to do that? And what is Leah thinking? He's calling her Rachel. What is she thinking? I know this man don't love me, and I ain't going to say nothing. And what was Rachel thinking? So what happens is we understand that this is the family trait, the character trait of this family. Let me tell you, some of us have dysfunctional families. All right, we have issues, and don't try to cover it up, and don't try to put a nice dress on it, and we got issues in our family, and they've been passed down from old grandpa's great grandpa so and so, and they've been passed down to grandpa, and then passed down to papa, and now I got it, and I'm passing it down to my children. May the Lord help us to realize and be honest with ourselves about those things, and those are the things that need to be changed. So now he tricks his brother to take his birthright. Now his uncle is tricking him with one. Now he said, all right, you're going to work for me? Okay, I'll give you Rachel too. But you're going to work for me for another 7 years. So that's 14 years that he has to work for the woman that he loves. Always looking over there at her. Can't touch her because he's married to a woman that he doesn't love. Now, what kind of dysfunction is that setting up? What kind of issues are they going to have in their relationship that he's got to go in every night to this woman and he loves that woman? May the Lord help us to understand these kind of dysfunctions happen in our lives today. All right? So now we got that, and he's got to work for another 7 years. Now he gets there 14 years later. He's been married to one woman for 7 years. Now he married No, he's been married to her for 7 years. So now he gets Rachel. Now he's got 2 women. Now, let me tell you what's a difficult thing that I've learned is having 2 women, put 2 women in the kitchen. Have 2 women trying to decorate the house. All right? You know, some cultures do it much better than our culture. Our culture doesn't do it very well, right? You put a woman in there, oh, I like this color. No, girl, I don't like that color blue. I want this color blue. You got them in the same house, you're going to have some problems. Then let's add children to it. And so Rachel couldn't have, I'm just telling you the story. You're going to have to read it for yourself, but I want to give you the breakdown so we can see when we get to the point of what his character flaws is and why all of this is. But there are some good things about Jacob as well. Jacob was an astute businessman. Read about it, how he was able to bring Laban's flock and exploded and all of these kinds of things. He was an excellent businessman. He was a very patient person to wait for 7 years. I remember when I was trying, when it was time for me to get, when I fell in love, I wanted to get married, and we dated for a year, and then we were engaged for a year, right? We were a long distance relationship, but you know, I got married like, oh, we could have waited another year or so. It doesn't really matter, but we now we're 37 years later, we're still together, right? And we love each other more today than we did then. Then it was just kind of up here and here, but now it's deeper, right? And it's a great relationship. Now, here's what I'm saying is now you've got 2 women. They're in the same household. You know that he loves Leah. I know that he loves Rachel more than he loves me. So what does the Lord do? The Lord closes Rachel's womb and opens up Leah's womb. Now Leah has children, and Rachel can't have them, and Rachel gets upset. And read the story. You talk about as the world turns, days of our lives, General Hospital, and all those kind of things. I guess they still don't do it. You talk about this. This is drama. This is drama. So now what happens? So the sisters, Rachel comes to Jacob, give me children. And Jacob is angry at her, saying, what do you think I am, God? I can't give you children. Your womb is closed. I can't give you children. So they have this argument, and then now there's this issue between Rachel and Leah. And so what Rachel decides to do is give her handmaid. Now, so you go into this handmaid, and you have a child by her. So now you got 3 women involved. We got some problems, don't we? And then you got, so Leah does the same thing. Now you got 4 women involved. So you got 4 baby mamas that this man has to deal with. Can you imagine the stress in his household? But you know why it was like that? Because of the character traits of his family. All right. Now, he had to do that. Now we got some surrogate mothers. We've got the drama that's there. Now we're going to get to what we're really talking about here today. Family dynamics. And I'm going to tell you something about this dysfunctional family. Have you ever been to a family reunion and one of your relatives are always the one that's so embarrassing? Oh boy, Uncle, there go Uncle so-and-so. And always saying something inappropriate, doing something inappropriate, laughing too loud, talking too loud. Have y'all got one of those in your family? Everybody got one in their family, don't they? Yeah, at least one. All right, everybody got one in their family. And this is what happens. So this is but you know what? It gives us clarity and understanding that there are some things about our families and this dysfunction in our families. You know what? You know who came from this family? Jesus. This is Jesus' family that we're talking about. So you know there's hope for you. If Jesus' family was so dysfunctional, then this hope is going to be all right. You're going to come through this too. Whatever Uncle so-and-so, or Aunt Simon who speaks her mind, all those kinds of things, you know what? You're going to come through it by the help and the grace of God as well. Now, I want to go to Genesis 32. Now, we find out that Jacob, this is about 21 years later, at least 21 years later, after all of this has happened, and Isaac and the birthright was stolen, Esau had put in his heart to kill his brother. And as we go to the 32nd chapter, and we're dropping down and reading this for the sake of time, because I just don't have time to read all of it. So we're going to go to, let's go to 24.
And Jacob was left alone.
Jacob was left alone.
And there wrestled a
And there
man
wrestled
with
a
him
man with him
until the breaking of the day.
Now, to give you the background, he's left Laban and he's wanting to go and be reconciled to his brother Esau. And so what he does is he sends cattle and camels and all kinds of things as presents to his brother. And he sends messengers to his brother and telling him, your brother Jacob is coming to see you. He's talking there, going to Esau. Your brother Jacob is coming to see you. And these presents are what he's giving you kind of as an appeasement. And so Esau gives them the message and sends the message back to Jacob. And the message is, he's coming to get you, buddy. He's coming to kill you. And he's got 400 men with him. And he's going to kill you. Now, what is he doing? He said, I don't want to, have you ever given a woman flowers that you had done something you shouldn't have done? I don't want your flowers. You throw them in the trash. I don't want your flowers. I want you to change. I want you to be a different person. But he says here, he's coming for you with 400 men. And so now this is what Jacob is concerned about. He sends everybody away. And he says, okay, it's a life and death situation. If I don't get through this, then it's a life or death situation. I have no ability to stand against 400 warriors. And he's going to come, he's going to destroy me, he's going to destroy my family, my flock, he's going to do everything because of what I did a long time ago. And so the only way for me to make a change is I've got to get a hold of God right here and right now. If God does not come to my rescue, this is the end. So what he says here, and Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh.
And he said, I will not let you go.
So the angel said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And Jacob said, I will not let thee go, except that. Have you ever gotten a hold of the Lord and said, Lord, I've got to have a blessing. I've got to have something. If you don't do this, this is going to be the end of me. And this is what Jacob was dealing with, a life and death situation. He did all the things he had done, and all the little under scheming and all that kind of thing. He had forgotten about that. And he said, Lord, I'm laying it all on the table right here. I'm at an altar, so to speak. This is this altar prayer. He got a hold of the Lord. This is what it's talking about. This is the example here. He got a hold of the Lord and he prayed and he said, and he said, let me go. And I believe the reason he said, the angel said, let me go was to test him. And sometimes the Lord tests us to see how badly we want a particular thing. And he said, I will not let thee go except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name?
And he said,
okay, and he said, Jacob. Now, this is the angel that's asking Jacob, what is his name? Do you suppose the angel didn't know Jacob's name? Of course he knew his name. The Lord has sent him and dispatched him right there. That was, he as a representative, as an ambassador, as God himself, the Lord, he knew Jacob's name, but Jacob didn't know his name. Do you know what happens when I call your name, Brother Randall? There is a character picture that comes into my mind. The person, their visage, their height, their character. Have you ever said something? Oh, do you know such as? Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know such as. Why did you do it like that? Have you ever said that about somebody? Oh, yeah, I know so and so and so. It's because you remember their character. There's something about that person's character that you are familiar with, and it's not a very pleasant thing for you to recall. So therefore, you roll your eyes and you say, yeah, I know him, and blah, 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 because you're knowing all about their character, who they are, what they've done in the past, how they handle themselves. All of those kinds of things is what you're dealing with when you call their name up. And so here is what happened with the angel. He had asked for a blessing, and he did not know that the blessing was going to come in this kind of a way. And I want to read the Amplified Version, which I think is the best version that I found regarding this particular scripture. And Amplified Version says, the man asked him, what is your name? And in shock of realization, whispering, he said, Jacob, supplanter, schemer, trickster, swindler. So he came to a realization of who he was. At that particular time, he realized, this is who I am. When people call my name, when my brother Esau calls my name, this is what he sees. that I swindled him out of something that was rightfully his. When I think about Uncle Laban, that's what I think about, swindler. He swindled me out of it. And part of the problem, all I wanted was one wife. I wanted Rachel. I didn't want 3 others. And now as a result of that, I've got 4 wives, children by 4 different women because of what Uncle Laban did. All right? He swindled me. Now I've done the same thing, and I've come to this understanding, this realization that I am a swindler, I'm a trickster, I'm a schemer, I'm all of these things, and that's when I say my name Jacob, that's what I see. And sometimes when we have to understand, there's a little bit of Jacob in me. There's a little bit of, I'm saying, am I getting too close? We got to deal with ourselves. You know what? When I preach to y'all, I'm preaching to me. I have to preach this to myself before I preach it to you. I am not exempt from this. I am not going to try to say I'm way up here and y'all need to come up where I am. I'm saying, listen, this is where I'm striving to, and I'm pulling you along with me. Let's go up there together. We've got to get to this place that God wants us to be as a people, as a church. As a little congregation right here, we've got to get to that place. I don't know where you are, and it's not my job to know where you are. It's my job to know where I am and to make certain that I get to where the Lord wants me to be. All right, so this is what Jacob did, and he said, so in essence, we must come to the end of our own efforts and see ourselves for who we really are, warts and all. And once we see the warts and all, we talked about this, pray one for another that you might be healed. That there's a healing that needs to come about. And this is what happened with Jacob as he held on to the Lord. And then he said, in the 28th verse, and he said, thy name shall no more be called Jacob of Israel. For as a prince thou hast power with God and with men and hast prevailed. So in other words, you held on. You held on long enough. That was all of this thing. Now that you see yourself, now you understand, I'm going to change that name. I'm going to change that character or trait about you. But you know how he changed that? It was hard. It was difficult for him for Jacob to hold on. He said, let me go. But he said, no, I'm not going to let you go. And there's a way that he held on and he twisted his legs, into my mind, twisted his legs around in the nose. I'm not going to let you go. I'm going to hold on until you bless me. When you bless me, I'll let you go. And then all of a sudden he said, first of all, before I can give you a real blessing, you got to know what you look like. You got to look in the mirror. You got to see yourself for who you are. And once Jacob saw himself for who he are, why did he whisper? I'm ashamed. I don't want to call that name because that name has a lot of baggage with it. The things that I've done in the past, the things that how I've. And then what the Lord stepped immediately and he said, your name is not going to be Jacob any longer, but Israel. Where's a prince that has power with God and with men, and has prevailed. You prevailed over who? You know what the Lord tells us in Genesis? It says, you have dominion over the earth, over all the earth. You know what that is? This fleshly earth right here. If I can have dominion over Daryl, I've got dominion over everything. I don't have to have dominion over my wife and my children and the congregation. I just need dominion over me. When I have dominion over me, then I let God handle everybody else. That's what I've learned. That's the easiest way to do it. But you know what I've learned also? That I found out that it is so difficult to deal with Daryl, that he doesn't have a whole lot of energy or time to deal with a whole lot of other people. But when he gets through with himself, he sees how horrible he looks. Lord help us. You understand what I'm saying. Can I be a priest? Are you a pastor still? I have issues. You got it? You want to talk to her. But let me tell you something about it. Every last one of them, I fight and I work on. You talk to her about it. If I see something, wives can tell you something about yourself, and you know what? I ain't where I was. Might not be where I'm going to be, but I ain't where I was. And every day I get a little bit better by the help and the grace of God. May the Lord help us do that, all right? Moving a little bit closer to our conclusion, he said, thy name shall no more be called Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince thou hast power with God and with men, and hath prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Peniel, the sun rose up, and he halted on his thigh. He had touched the hollow of his thigh and put it out of joint. So you know what? There's a little different way that he walked. You know, you remember how we used to walk when we had the big froze, and There's a certain kind of walk that you do. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And you thought you were cool, and you could do that. We call it a certain name. I'm not going to call it in the pulpit. But there was a certain way that you kind of did like this. And some people see it. You see the old man. There's that old man that walk like that. But let me tell you, if your leg hurt, you're going to walk like that. Your leg hurts, you're going to be pulling it and dragging it, and it's going to be a little bit more humble than like this, right? It's going to be a little bit more humble. This is what Jacob was doing. He was halting on his thigh. Now, what happened? He knew that there had been a change. And Jacob called the name, okay. And he said, he passed over Banal, and the sun rose, and he halted upon his thigh. Therefore, the children of Israel don't eat them. Okay, so we're going to drop down a little bit. And 33rd verse, and Jacob lifted up his eyes. Third chapter, in the first verse. Briefly.
Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold,
Esau came,
with him 400 men, divided the children unto Leah, and Rachel, and the two handmaids. He put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after.
Here's another issue, because he's having parental preferences as well. But, this is according to what the scripture says. And he put their children foremost, and Leah and her children after. And Rachel and Joseph hindermost. So he only had Joseph there, and he says, and he passed over them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. You know what 7 means in the Bible? It means perfection. So what did he do? He perfectly humbled himself before his brother. So in other words, he said, I know what I did. And I know what kind of man I was back then. And he didn't say it with words. He said it with actions. With this limp here, that he's coming here, and then when he sees his brother, he just falls down on it and just bows himself 7 times and says, brother, I know. Have you ever been so hurt that there are just not words to express how you feel? And this is what the situation was with Jacob. That Jacob is going to his brother, and he just bowed down 7 times and making it perfectly clear that I'm perfectly submitted to you. You've got 400 men. You can destroy me if you want to, and I don't have any recourse. But now I'm bowing down, and let's see what happens here. Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, and fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept. Drama? This is drama, right? You can't find greater drama anywhere than in the scriptures. And here they are crying over each other. But let me tell you something. That wouldn't happen had Jacob not dealt with himself and not come to the understanding and come to the end of who he was, and understanding who he was, and acknowledging and confessing, as we've been talking about over the last couple of Sundays. He confessed that this is who I am. This is really what I look like. When I look in the mirror, I'm not this cute, handsome, debonair kind of a guy. I'm a schemer. I'm a trickster. I'm all of this, and I look horrible. He came to that particular place, and now the Lord had given him something. And saints, what I want us to understand is the Lord wants to give us something too. The Lord wants to bless us as well. And Esau ran, and they embraced him. Let me tell you something here. There are things that I've seen it in relationships. We're talking about relationships here. I've seen that when one person humbles, you don't even have to have, there was no round table discussion. This man was coming in with 400 men to kill his brother. All right? And the only thing that stopped him was, okay, I'm going to send a negotiator, and we're gonna have a negotiation, sit down at a round table and explain. I'll give you all my animals and all of this, if you just spare my life. That was none of that, was it? The only thing that changed was the heart of Jacob. The one that did the problem, he begged pardon, he begged the Lord to have mercy on, the Lord to change him. He held on until the breaking of the day, whatever it was going to take. He held on until that time. Then he went down to the place and he humbled himself so completely and said, I'm sorry, brother. I know I did you wrong. I should have taken your birthright. And let me tell you something else is going on right here. There is a 21-year feud that this man said, I'm going to kill you. And for 21 years, that was eating at him, that he was going to find his brother at some point, and he was going to come when the time was right, and he was going to kill his brother. Let me tell you, we got to forgive. We talked about that too, don't we? There are going to be some things that we've got to ask the Lord. Lord, help me to just forgive Jacob for what he did, my Jacob, whoever the Jacob is in your life. I've got to forgive them for what they did and go on with my life. I'm not going to sit up here and the minute his name comes up, it brings back all those hard and harsh feelings. And I'm going to gather me an army and hire me 400 men to come in and just make sure that he is completely annihilated for what he did against me. And what stopped him? It wasn't the negotiations. It wasn't the appeasement, the flowers that he sent. He said, I'm going to send this. You go to the 20th verse of the 32nd chapter. He's talking about, he says here, in one place he said, I will appease him with the present. I'm going to appease him. I'm going to send her flowers and maybe she'll forgive me. And then you come back and find the flowers in the trash. I don't want your flowers. I want you to act right. Now, here's the situation. But would he change? You know what, Dr. Laura, y'all have ever heard of Dr. Laura on the radio? She's the psychologist. Well, she said when a person changes, you'll know it. Have you ever? They don't have to come and tell you that they've changed. You'll know. Everybody will know. So here's a situation where Jacob made a change. His name was no longer Jacob, it was Israel, because he had power with God and with men. That was what the angel blessed him with. You have power with God and with men. Now, the power that we have that is of God is so powerful that 400 men had to stop. 400 men that were hired to come and kill him had to stop because the hand of God said stop. Yeah. So I want us to understand that when we are wrong, and acknowledge our wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. We got to be this macho man, and we can't tell nobody else. We can't tell somebody that we're wrong. We're wrong. When you're wrong, you're wrong. And then you ask the Lord to forgive you, and then ask everybody else to forgive you, and then the Lord will take care of the situation. And then instead of having an argument about what you did to me back then, he's saying, why are you sending me these presents? I've got everything that I need. They're having this kind of an argument. That's a good argument to have, isn't it? Oh, brother, I don't need it. No, you take it. No, I don't need it. You take it. And they're saying that kind of thing. They're falling on each other and weeping because they haven't seen, because deep down inside, there's love. Let me tell you something. And I've seen it in relationships down to the years. Just because, and my aunt told me this one time, she said, you just don't fall out of love. You can't just fall out of love. Deep down inside, you might have a person that has fallen in love with somebody, and you start, as I say, relationships are organisms, and if you don't take care of them, they will die. They're alive. You remember the relationship that you had? Who was your best friend in kindergarten? When was the last time you talked to him? You know, I had 2 girlfriends in kindergarten. Neither one of them knew it. But I didn't marry either one of them either. But I was madly in love. I can tell you the names, but I'm not. But I had 2 of them. And then I'm sure that the person that you were, your little girlfriend, boyfriend in junior high is probably, in some exceptions, probably not the one that you're married to today. Why? Because relationships change. And then sometimes what we have to understand is that we can, just like we fall in love, we can fall out of love. But there also, that's a hard thing to do. Once you've given a piece of yourself to somebody, it's hard to really take it all back. You can never really take it all back. You never really can. You never completely, oh, brother, I can't all. You know why people hate people that they divorce? Why they hate them is because they're trying to replace the love, the intensity. That's my theory. The intensity of love that in my experience with them, the intensity of the love that they have for that person. There's nothing wrong with falling in love with somebody. There's nothing wrong with still loving somebody that you can't live with. Okay? I give you permission to do that. You don't have to. You don't have to tell everybody that you hate them. You can say, I had a sister that was married for 1 year, not even a year. But she loved the man that she was married to, and they lived separately for 30-something years, not longer. And they just could not live together. They could not live together. Neither one of them. You know why? I believe because neither one. Excuse me. Let me be careful. We have to have this kind of an experience where we see ourselves. And then the Lord changes that person. For us. So, you make the change, and God will make the change in your brother. But you have to understand that God has to make the change in you first. And I see so many people that use so much energy in trying to change somebody else. And really all they have to do is change me. All I have to do is change me. And you know what? I've seen some changes in me that have changed my life. Let me say, in our culture, women are strong.
Oh, yeah.
And you know why? It goes all the way back to slavery, even. And in our culture, there are strong women, and I'm sure in other cultures there are too. But I can speak very clearly and with confidence.
They were pushed up as the leader.
They were pushed up as the leader in various things, and we won't go all the way into there. But so in our culture, a man has to know how to work with a woman, right? Or else you can crush her or not. You can not, she won't let. But you can lead her gently to the place that you want. One of the things that again, this is one of those things that almost a personal conversation that I want to have with you, but I'm going to say it anyway. You can lead them to where you want them to be if you know how to respond.
Yes.
And when I say to men, I say, know your wives. Know them. Know what makes them tick. Know what makes them, we can push their button the wrong way. Don't push buttons. Just make certain that they know where you are and make certain that they know you love them beyond a shadow of a doubt, beyond anything else other than God. And when you know that, then what you do, it may take you a while. You know, one of the things my wife could have said, I would have been living in California. She had said, no, there is no way that I could have done it. And so the thing that I know is you don't come to her, and particularly in our culture, you don't come and say, look, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it. She's going to say, oh, okay. You go right ahead. I'm going to be over here, but you go right ahead and do whatever you want to do. But you ain't doing it to me.
Right.
It's true. That's what happens. So what do you have to do? You have to say, listen, well, man, you'll win. No, I'm not a winner. I'm a strong man, and I understand. I have insecurities, but I'm not insecure. There are some men that are insecure. And we all have our insecurities, no matter what you are. And let me tell you, we're better off with strong. Y'all, I know I'm going a long time, but I got a lot of stuff that the Lord didn't give me. And I just empty it all out, give it to you, and then I trust that you just are with me. I know it's been a while, but I don't know what time I got to do. But I'm almost done. And so what you have to do is you have to change you. If you're one of them big, huffy, gruffy men, and you got a strong woman, you got to know how to work with her. And you know, I've seen it in my own families. I had a brother, big, huffy, gruff brother to everybody but his wife. It was almost like she could just take a little. Well, or he could take one and just lead her where he wanted, and they just loved each other. He called her Miss America. And she was the most beautiful woman in the world as far as he was concerned. But what I want us to understand that when we change, it changes other people. And the most difficult thing for us to do is to change ourselves. Stop trying to change me. Stop trying to change your neighbor. Stop trying to change everybody. You ask God to give you the kind of grace that you need to hold on, and Lord, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me, until you change my name. You come to an understanding of what your name is, what your character flaws are, what your issues are in your own life. You come to an understanding of that. Let me tell you something. Whatever relationship you have a problem with right now, it's going to get better. You know why? Because that's what happened here. And this is why the Lord does. You got more drama in your life than Jacob had. I doubt if any of us have more drama in our lives than what Jacob had. But let me tell you, the Lord changed him from Jacob to Israel. And not only did he change him from Jacob to Israel, they became the children of Israel. And they became the chosen of God. And they became the lineage of Jesus Christ. From such a dysfunctional heap of drama. Why? Because one man decided to make the change, because ultimately I cannot go. It's life and death situation. Ultimately, if Jacob had not made that change, there would be no Israel. There would have been no blessing. So let me tell you, you want a blessing in your family, you want a blessing in your household, you want a blessing, you ask the Lord to change you. Change you. You want a blessing? Let me tell you, I want a blessing in whatever it is that I'm over, including the church. Lord, change me. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. I'm the problem. do that. People will walk all over. I have people tell me that they'll walk all over. They can't. Not if you got power with God and man. You got power with God. They don't walk all over God, do they? They're not going to walk all over you. You know what makes people say that they got to stand up and be a man is because they're insecure. They're insecure. Lord help us. Oh, Brother Gerald. You're not supposed to say that. Yes, I am. May the Lord help us. Now, there's a Jacob, a little bit of Jacob in all of us. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to pray about it? You're going to beg the Lord until He gives you what you need, until He changes you. If you do that, the Lord will bless you. And whatever issue you're having with your brother, with the other relationships that you're having, God will correct those. I promise. No, I don't promise. He promises. Yes. The Word promises. May the Lord help us. Pray for you. Thank you for your time and attention. Thank you for your patience.
4:45. Hurry and tell him.
Let us stand as we sing this number. Maybe there's someone that wants to pray. We'll give you an opportunity.
He is the Lord. He is the Lord. Jesus, so tender, loving and kind, waiting to come, bless and deliver, hurry and turn, peace you will find. Hurry and tell me, why do you tarry? Open your heart wide, Jesus is near. Bring Him the burden you cannot carry. Tell Him with courage, nothing to fear. Hurry and tell Him, brother and sister, Jesus so tender, slowly and waiting to come, bless and deliver, hurry and tell peace you will find. Hurry and tell what tongue cannot utter. Rolling and sighing, rolling with care, bruised and weary, and doubting you falter. Tell Him in words your burdens to bear. Hurry and tell, brother and sister, Jesus so tender, loving and kind, waiting to come,
Every affliction, tell him each pain and sorrow of more. Here is the word, all power is given. No one can